All right, I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting of Morton Grove Public Library. It's September 13th, 7 p.m.
We have a flag. We don't have a flag.
Kind of hard to say allegiance without. So we'll,
Dispense
we
with.
can do pledge. Could you call the roll?
Trustee Burt, I'm here. Trustee Calavan? Absent, that's right, he's on safari. Trustee Goldstein?
Here.
Trustee Hoffman?
Here.
Trustee Novick?
Here.
That's the first timer for me. Hi, Barbara. Trustee Peters?
Here.
And Trustee Elders?
Here.
Trustee President Elders. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go out of order on the agenda. We have Carrie Dittman here from Sickich who wants to talk about the, what is it, the audit letter? You've got the floor.
Thank you, President Elders, for having me come tonight. Just to give you a quick background on me, I've been at Sickich for the last 12 years and auditing government entities for about 14. So I've only been on the village and therefore the library's audit for the last 2 years, but I'm pretty familiar with government accounting and policy and all that. So the document that I just wanted to go over today, or at tonight's meeting, is the board communications, includes the management letter. So hopefully you see something that looks kind of like this, 5 or so pages. Pam asked me first off to just kind of explain the different levels of control deficiencies that we report on with government auditing standards. There's essentially 3 levels of control deficiency. There's just deficiency in internal control, a significant deficiency, which is 1 level up or more critical, and then material weakness, which would be like the highest level of deficiency. Deficiency in internal control basically means that during the normal course of the library's operations, a misstatement may exist that they wouldn't detect, would neither prevent or detect incorrect during the normal course of operations. Material weakness is either a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies that there's chances are there's going to be a material misstatement of the financial statements if it's not corrected prior to issuing your financial statements. And a significant deficiency just kind of falls between the two. It's not as severe as material weakness, but it's big enough to warrant notification to those charged with governance, which is yourselves. So I'm first off pleased to say there are no material weaknesses that we found in this year's audit. We did note 2 significant deficiencies, which I'll go through in a minute, and then 2 other comments. So you know, those aren't even rising to the level of deficiency. It's more just kind of, for your information only, not anything that's necessarily wrong, but things we thought may, be helpful to the library and your operations. So on page 2, the 2 significant deficiencies that we noted during the audit. The first off was while we were testing the bank reconciliations, we noted in the payroll bank reconciliation that the adjusted balance on the reconciliation did not agree back to the amount that was reported in the library's trial balance, or on the library's books, basically. The difference was, the reason why it rose to a significant deficiency was the amount of the difference. I don't know how much detail you want me to go in on that, but basically our recommendation was, as part of your reconciling each month, just to make sure that, yes, you got your reconciliation of the bank, but that you actually match it up to the trial balance, the general ledger, and make sure that they are in agreement. The reason why they were different is because there were some transfers that occurred right around the end of December that hadn't gotten reported. So we posted a journal entry as part of the audit to get them to agree. So that was our first recommendation. The second one is a little bit more in-depth. When we talk about year-end accruals, essentially the library is operating on a cash basis throughout the year, which most municipalities do. I see very few that actually adjust accounts payable and things like that, each month. They basically do it all at the end of the year for audit purposes to essentially convert from cash basis to modified accrual. And modified accrual is where you have to report for generally accepted accounting principles in order to get the unqualified opinion as part of the audit. So what that basically entails is looking at your year-end accounts and determining things like accounts payable. So anything that was incurred, work done or goods received before December 31st that you then pay for after, making sure you accrue liability and expense as of December 31st for those. Similarly, accrued payroll, so, you know, you have employees working up through December 31st and they get paid January 5th, booking the payroll expense for that. And then on the other side, accounts receivables and prepaid expenses and things of that nature. So we assisted the library this year with getting its accruals on the books because they had not been adjusted from the prior year's audit. So basically the recommendation is there, you know, at the end of the year to put in a process whereby somebody at the library reviews those, you know, bills that are paid after year end, the first payroll of the next year, basically to determine how much of that relates to the prior year, and so forth, and getting those items adjusted on the trial balances. The other comments, which like I said, are not, nothing particularly wrong with the way the library processes it, it's just, you know, kind of something that may be helpful to you all. The general fixed asset and long-term debt account groups, I don't know if you have the copy of the audit report, but when you're going from modified accrual then, which is GAAP, to full accrual, which all that is basically on the statement of net assets and statement of activities, at the very front of the village's report, where they include the library as a component unit in one columnar presentation. What this accounting basis does basically is pull in your long-term capital assets and your long-term debt. It's trying to get everything on a full accrual basis of accounting. So it's yet one more adjustment that has to be done for the audit. So what we were suggesting is when the library pulls in those capital assets and debt, currently it's being reported on the library's operating fund, because the library utilizes QuickBooks, which is not fund-based software, it's just kind of one big chart of accounts. So we recommended, you know, working within the limitations of QuickBooks, set up 2 new companies where the capital assets would be, you know, essentially recorded there. You would never do anything with it except at audit time, just adjusting there, and same thing with debt. So you'd have kind of like 2 new companies on your system that we would just use for the audit, rather than putting it all in the library's operating fund and then trying to extract them when we're, you know, reporting your numbers for the audit. And then the other comment is related to fixed assets. We noted when you're testing the fixed assets or capital assets that the library hadn't identified additions or disposals. So as we're going through and testing expenditures, you know, we look at, should this item, is it, you know, over the library's threshold for capitalization, should it be included? So we noted a few items. So basically a recommendation there is just as they're going through, you know, either at the end of the year, you know, taking a look through all your capital expenditure accounts and pull out things that are, you know, meet the threshold for capitalization, or as projects are progressing, you know, make a copy of the invoice, throw it in a file or something to kind of keep track of that during the year. And same thing for disposals. If, you know, the board has a list of things throughout the year that they're determined are surplus and they're getting rid of, or things like that, just to kind of keep track of those, and that way it makes it easier during the year end to get those fixed asset records reported.
Is $5,000 a generally accepted amount?
That was what the library had in its capitalization policy. You can set it whatever you want.
Okay.
And that was it for current year comments. The prior year comments were essentially all implemented with the exception of segregation of duties. The only thing we recommend here is kind of continue to do what you're doing. You know, having a limited staff, limited financial staff basically at the library, just to continue to have board oversight and, you know, director oversight and approval of purchases and payroll and things like that to try to mitigate the lack of segregation of duties. So.
All right. Any questions from the board? We're good. Well, thank you, Carrie. Appreciate it.
Some other things that I need to check with you about, so I'll do that tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for coming. You'll make it in time for the game.
Appreciate it. Yes.
That's what's next time you do, so I'll give you a call tomorrow.
All right, take care.
All right, we'll continue on with the approval of minutes of the board meeting of August 9, 2012. And can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Comments, questions, concerns? If none, can you call the vote?
These are the minutes of August the 9th. Art Goldstein,
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
Trustee Novick,
Yes.
Trustee Peters,
Yes.
Trustee Elbers,
Yes?
Trustee Berg, yes, and Trustee Kalnick is absent.
All right, minutes are approved.
6-0 approved.
Thank you. Any public comments on agenda items this evening?
I'm not sure if it's on the agenda, but it relates to finance, so can I just make a quick comment now, or was I gonna make it later? It's something for the finance committee.
Finance committee would be an agenda item, so.
Eric Potter, 740 Foster Street, for several months, the person next to me who's made this incredible brochure is aware, a lot of people are aware. Dr. Kalamag actually saw me at the post office. I've got about 110 of the September, October 2012 Books and Beyond that's from the post office. I've already dropped off about, I think, 60 if I'm not mistaken. So that's about 170. I'm not sure what your per cost is on these things, but you know, I've done a lot of research with the village. The village does it 4 times a year. So far this year, they've had 2 special editions. The Park District has reduced from 4 to 3. I'm not sure how many the village sends out, but I was casually told the Park District sends out about 9,000. It's just something to consider. Everybody's talking about communication in the village. Maybe everybody should start looking at different ways to communicate. I don't think, as a resident, it's advisable to put these at the post office because you don't really know who owns these post office boxes, if they're residents of Morton Grove or if they're from the surrounding community. So it's just something to look at because it takes a lot of time for her to make this. There's printing costs, typesetting costs, you know, somebody has to bring it to the post office. And then when I dropped it off, the 60 about a couple weeks ago, the gentleman at the counter had said that, you know, thank you and what have you, I'll let the director know. And then a woman had said, who was just standing behind the counter, you know, we just got a whole slew of these back from the post office. So I know you make probably, I'm assuming 10,000, and you probably have extras, but you know, I've been bringing these back, you know, every other month. It's just something to consider.
Do we need to update, are you saying we need to update our address files?
I mean, you do what you want to do for marketing. I come from a very strong marketing background, and you know, I was involved with a pretty big.
I mean, are these undeliverables? Is that
Well, what happens is like I go to the post office every day. I have a PO box, and I throw stuff out in the recycling, and I see these on the counter. I see these, you know, coming out of the garbage. So I just started dumpster diving. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, and I'm just pulling these out. And then I see the village, the same thing. People are just taking them, throwing them straight in the trash. The question is, from a marketing standpoint, how many residents are throwing them out?
How do they distribute that though, first to the postman?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because he just drops them into every box.
I
And
may
they
be
don't
able,
count, I don't think, each one.
I may be able to answer. Currently, we now send it, so Paulson Press is the printer that does Books and Beyond. So after we are done with all of the design work, we send it to their FTP site, they print. And the previous issues, I don't know how far back. They used to send us all of the folded brochure newsletters, and we would then get numbers for the routing numbers for Morton Grove from the post office, and we would have volunteers work whenever they got it here to actually count out all of the numbers that the post office provided us for all of the different routing sections of Morton Grove. So that's how we used to do it. And at some point, and it was even before we even did the redesign, it was some point maybe last year where we just gave it to Paulson and they got the numbers from the post office. So I would think that would still be the way they did it. So it was the number of routing, or whatever the routing numbers, and then it was also the people on our mailing list, which I think right now is up to more than 300. So I'm not really sure how PO boxes fall into that, where those numbers are, if that's in just a routing, like the routing section by the post office, that I'm not really
Do
sure.
you know how many residences there are?
I know at,
Households, you would probably guess it would be the answer, and I think it's like 9,500, I was quoted by a previous chamber director. But, not to interject, but the bottom line is, in this day and age, with now this whole new look that she's created, and everybody's talking about it, why can't you start utilizing email addresses? Why can't you start putting it online where it's more visible, like ISSU, ISSUU, where you can actually scroll through it?
The problem with, it is available online, and the issue that you run into with sending, like taking people's email addresses and then saying, oh, you can choose how you want to receive it, is that how we're paying for this right now is that we pay a bulk mailing rate. And once we start getting into specific addresses, we get a discount on that bulk mailing rate. Once we're starting to do it by address, we actually have to determine what addresses it's being sent to, and then it's first class mail. So then we don't get a bulk mailing rate, and it ends up costing us a lot more. So we can make it available online, we can email it to people, but we can't give them that choice
Can't do that.
without incurring probably a greater cost.
Well, we do email it. I get it.
Right, so we
See, I don't get it
so
either.
we're doing both, but a lot of that has to do with the
A
bulk
lot of
mailing
times you want to
rate.
refer to it during the month or 2 months that you're working on it.
And we-
You're not going to leave it on your email.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, maybe you should start an ad hoc committee for marketing and maybe do some focus groups with residents and see, do you throw it away and what would you like to see? Do you visit it online? Yeah, it's just a PDF file. Well, there's software out there that's free, like I said, this ISSUU.com, where you can actually bring it on and drag and open the pages. And a lot of people have smartphones these days.
That's good, Eric, but we have also a whole segment of people that are not tech savvy.
Of course.
Lots of people.
Demographics,
Don't
of course.
even have the most rudimentary computer. And in order to serve, and they are high volume users of the library. And so in order to serve our entire public, I think for now it would be prudent to give a hard copy of books. That might change sometime in the future.
And we will look into the issue with the post office boxes and that sort of thing too. We can take a
Yeah,
look
I
at
But
can
those.
see,
it's not an
I
issue
can
that
see
I'm.
down years and years where you'd have a stack of them on the counter that anybody could pick up and everybody else would get it by email. But I don't think we're there yet.
But it's not more like we're discussing it and that's great, but it's not an argument, it's more of like, what can you do to publicize this great facility? What can you do
Okay,
to
thank-
increase programming? What can you do to reach out to those
You're
specific
sitting right
demographics?
next to the person who does that.
Exactly.
So
There
she's
you
heard
go.
you loud and clear tonight, so thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, there is no president's report tonight, so we can go right to the treasurer's report.
You all received your paperwork, so if you have any questions about the cash and investment statement or the income statement or the check register, please feel free to ask me. I do want to make one note. There was an error in the July and August cash statement that has been corrected, but it's been corrected here. But the board, we haven't received our hard copy yet of it. And the board will receive updated statements within the week. The error is minor, but we feel it's important to comment on it. But it doesn't reflect any change at all in the overall financial health of the library, which continues to be absolutely fine.
It was more an error in the way that we were displaying.
Listing, right, it was a
Listing out
listing error.
the investment income and the cash income. So we're working on better ways to present that information.
I do have a question, and it may be my newness. I was comparing the donations year-to-date, this year compared to last year. Last year donations at this point were $5,900, $6,000. This year they're $420. Is there a specific reason, or is it something I don't know about?
Friends of the library.
Pardon me?
Friends of the library.
That is the difference, it's
I
strictly
think so.
friends.
The
Not
book sales,
last year,
probably.
not last year, I think it was a book sale.
I think we
The
have book
Friends have
sales.
been
yeah.
disbanded
Book
for
sale
more
was
than.
strictly separately listed.
Yeah, The book sale's separate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm basically asking what goes under this subject, because that's a significant drop.
We'd have to see when it came in. It could be Friends before they,
It's primarily monetary donations,
I-
that's what goes in
I
there, so, I
figured
mean,
it.
and that is entirely dependent on,
largest
because
people.
we don't do a lot of.
And Friends of the Library were doing the primary solicitation for giving
Yes.
donations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions about any of the checks or any of the financial reports? If not, I would accept my report.
Thank you. No questions, can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
A second,
I'll second that.
would you call that one, Paul?
Trustee Burke, yes, I accept. Trustee Belknap is absent. Trustee Goldstein,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Novick,
Yes.
trustee Peters.
Yes.
And trustee Delbert.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any reports from the finance committee this month?
We just had it.
We do.
We're done. Building and grounds, nothing, policy, not this month. Director? your report.
I don't have much to add on what is in my report already. It's been a busy month working on a variety of things. The board meeting's already here. Probably the big news will be we're switching payroll companies, which we are in the process of doing. And I anticipate that will make the administering of our payroll a lot simpler for the administrative staff and for our, there's some scheduling things in that as well that will hopefully also help some of our managers with scheduling issues. And it will save us, I anticipate, about $500 a month. So I'm looking forward to having that switched on. We will run the first payroll of the new company on October 1st. Is that right, Blanche? Yeah. So that's, Blanche and I have been working with the rep to get all of the numbers that they need. So that we're spending a lot of time doing that. There is one minor error in the director's report on the snapshot of the statistics. The year comparison to August 2012 to August 2000, that should compare to August 2011. Right now it's listed as
Which one goes
2012.
first?
The 2012,
Is first.
the snapshot.
Okay.
The current year is highlighted, it's shaded or something,
The current year's.
whichever that's, I
Red
think it's the
one.
right column.
Okay, so 11 is the first year.
So if they're both dated 2012?
Oh, they
Yeah.
both say 12.
So, yeah, so we are making yearly comparisons, not
All right.
comparing ourselves to this month to this month. So,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have experience with this company? Is that how?
the company that we're switching to, Paycom, I do not have personal experience with. I have gotten several references. They did a couple different presentations. I've gotten several references from area libraries that have switched from using the same payroll company that we're using to them and have had nothing but absolutely glowing things to say. And then the references that I've gotten said they're very responsive. It's much easier to use. No one, I have asked if there's any change, that if they've had to make any change in their processes to cover any deficiencies in the software, and there's been none. So I feel pretty positive about moving forward with them. And there's a number, like Niles Library, for example, is using this, and the person who does the payroll over there has said that she would be willing to come in and help us out if we need it, but she said you probably won't need it. But, so there's a number of libraries in the area that are using that.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for instituting this and for saving us $6,000 a year that we can use on something else.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing further? All right, anything from council?
No report this month.
All right. Unfinished business. So we're gonna review the RFP for carpet.
You should have all gotten the RFP that I wrote up, as you can see, that is a draft, because I wanted to make sure that I incorporated any changes that the board may suggest, or if there's anything that is in there that they don't want in there, or something they do want in there that I didn't have in there. The one other thing that did kind of come to light, it probably is not a huge surprise to anyone, is that there is a lot of asbestos tile in this building. I did make copies, just so the board is aware. I am not sure at this point if any, or if any impact this may have on the carpet, but I did, like I said, want to make everyone aware. So these are the areas that there is, and you may have seen some of
Maybe
this.
you can't touch the tile.
Well, there's some different things. Like I said, I just wanted the, there's different things that we can do. There are, I mean, carpet companies do this all the time. So, just so that everyone is aware that this may have a further impact, once we get into the process. So, I just wanted all the information out there. I don't think that this, my recommendation at this point would be to move forward with, putting out the RFP. And then with the idea that we will address any issues that arise as they come up, and that may impact, you know, how we move forward. One of the things that I did do in the RFP is ask that bidders bid each section separately and as a total, so that we have the option of moving forward with just certain areas, because there are some areas that we want to do that the asbestos tile will not be an issue, such as youth services, the Baxter Room, that kind of thing. So we will have some options available to us as we move forward. So, but as I said, this is not uncommon in buildings certainly of this age, or even buildings that were built up until the late 70s. So I know more about asbestos than I ever thought I would before. So, but I think that our best bet at this point is to move forward with the bidding process, and then, as I said, just with the understanding that there may be some other issues that arise when that, as we go
We're
through
not
that.
talking about removing the tile.
No, no.
They can't do that.
Without the full abatement, no, we are not talking about removing the tile. There have been other areas of the library that have been recarpeted that do have
Yes.
asbestos, so, and usually that, as long as we're not disturbing that in any way, you know, creating, as long as it's not friable, it's usually not an issue. But I just, like I said, I just wanted the board to be aware that as we move down this road, that there may be some other associated costs. So, basically, other than that, if the rest of this looks good to the board, if they're comfortable with this approach, I can go ahead and move forward with that. Or if anyone has any
I
questions
have
or
a
comments.
small question.
Mhm.
It's, don't laugh.
Oh, you laughed.
Sorry.
I didn't even ask the question yet.
I promise I won't when you ask the question.
Just from personal experience, the elevator. Rather than carpet, I would suggest, even if it costs a few dollars more, a heavy-duty tile, like a rubber tile. Meaning, because it's such a high traffic area, and those carts are hitting the carpet as it crosses the metal part.
I
It
think
tears
that's
it
a
up
good idea.
faster.
Yeah.
And I know rubber tile is gonna cost a little more, or some kind of tile that's non-slippery, might be a more practical.
We can remove the elevator from the bidding process, or I can change that to indicate that we want some kind of high density,
Yeah.
some other type of flooring that might be.
Thought I had, and that was one thought I had.
Maybe something washable, because kids are gonna be, they're gonna be walking from the lobby into
Probably
the
the
booths and everything.
safest is the rubber tiles, from my knowledge of.
Do you have a thought on that?
No, it's gotta be a non-slip tile.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other reason for rubber. I mean, I've got ceramic at home, it's not at all slippery, but I wouldn't even recommend it because it cracks.
I can
Rubber doesn't
change
crack.
that and ask for bids on recommended elevator flooring material
Yeah,
or something
that's-
like that.
It, like I said, it may add a few dollars because carpet's probably the cheapest route to go.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Just a small portion.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking 10
Okay.
square feet.
If the board is comfortable with that, I'll reword that to indicate.
Good
The
idea.
other question I had, and you may have covered it, stressing to the people you're asking bids from, the importance of their giving you a calendar worked out day by day, where they're gonna be, what they're gonna be doing. I know that it's too soon, but for their, not to have the ability to tell you that on Monday we're doing this, and on Tuesday we're doing this, because you don't wanna lose your customers at the same
Right,
time.
that is one of the things that we can, my assumption is that number 2 under the listing of things that should be included in the bid is a project approach.
Right.
And I would hope that they could give some kind of guidelines within that. If the board feels that we need to make that calendar statement a little stronger, or, you know.
I would
that
make
board
it
should,
stronger
I
once
think,
you're
that-
honing in on a 2 or
Absolutely.
3 bids as
Absolutely.
opposed to
Yes,
initially.
that would absolutely be part of the process. Yeah.
You sound like you've done this before.
I have an interior design background, you forgot.
Good.
I always do, I do color well too.
Yeah, all right. Feel free to volunteer.
She hasn't asked.
What do we do the building and grounds
Yeah.
meeting for that? Come on in and help us pick a color.
You don't want me to pick the color.
No, we don't want Paul picking the color.
All gray, huh?
But with me, it'll be
Yeah.
Southwest,
Yeah.
there's no doubt.
All right.
They have a party, you know.
Okay, with any other suggestions or comments or questions about the purpose of the, I guess you can let me know whether or not you're comfortable then with me
You know,
moving
if
forward.
they do for some reason have to remove the asbestos tile, the cost is gonna be getting rid of it, I would think, is gonna be
The
more.
abatement process, it depends on what they have to do, what
And there may
areas,
be
that
days
sort of
that you
thing.
would have to close the library
Oh, yeah.
down because of the air quality.
If that becomes an issue, then obviously we'll be meeting
Yeah,
again to discuss what our options are for that process. I mean, that opens the discussion to a whole other slew of things.
I have to think that floor has been down there a very long time.
and he hasn't done anything to affect anybody
Well,
in
but
those years.
the library was completely remodeled and.
As I said, there
Yeah,
have been
it's not a
areas
problem
that-
unless it's
I know, yeah, but I'm saying it was remodeled
degenerated.
in, I'm thinking 82 roughly, 81?
No, we've got problems with
Well, I know, but I'm saying, wasn't it remodeled, when was the library remodeled, the big renovation here?
I thought it was in the 70s, I'm not sure.
And asbestos became a problem in this country in early 70s, I
It's recognized.
think. Yeah, I'm just
But
surprised.
we've
that
had
it
carpet
was.
since, we've
And
had
we
carpet
have
since
had
then.
carpet replaced and it has not been an issue.
Right,
And
it
so we
shouldn't
could
be.
move forward and it could be a complete non-issue.
Yeah.
I
The
just want
carpet
to make
folks
the,
will let us know.
right, and I just wanted to make the board aware
Yeah.
that this could possibly impact, cost and just as we move forward. That's just informational purposes at this point.
Good to know.
Educate me also, when you go and for carpet fitting, where do you actually go? Do you go to commercial carpeting?
There are some companies that have given us, informal bids before we decided to do a bigger project. Once you hit $20,000, you're actually required to send out an RFP for public institutions. So I will send the bid to those companies that have indicated an interest in working with us in the past. It also is legal requirements to be posted in at least one of the local newspapers. There's and posted on the website. There's some other places that these sorts of things are required to be posted. So
I was just curious if you go to, 588-2300 or you go.
you can. Empire does actually have a commercial carpet division, and most places that do carpet for your home also have a commercial carpet division. And then there's a couple other places that I know of too that I will actively send the bids to, and then there's a lot of companies that just see all these bids, and then, they check them regularly and send bids. So hopefully we'll have a number to choose from.
Do we need to take any action on this then?
I don't believe we do have to take any action on this. This is more for your information, and if everyone's comfortable with the draft and with the few changes that we've suggested, I will, finish this up and post it tomorrow or by early Monday.
I think we're good with that. Yeah.
That's great.
All right, the next part, new business, audit management review letter.
We have to take
Kara.
a motion on, we have to have a motion on terminating.
We don't need to take the motion because we're not spending any money, so.
Well, we're giving the director permission to proceed.
Before we had talked about calling a motion to give me permission. You could probably do a voice.
I think you got that last time.
Okay, to proceed with the RFP.
I think you were directed to prepare the RFP last time, last meeting.
I just want to be sure.
So we
Okay.
can vote to accept or reject all the bids or
Yeah.
accept one of the bids.
And that would be my mistake, so I'm sorry.
Well, Pam, you're still on. It says 10B is the per capita grant.
Also in your packets, exciting reading. I'm sure you guys all did this, your homework.
Yes, we did.
I am almost, I have completed all of the per capita grant actually, and I'm just waiting for the boards to tell me that they have done their homework so that I can send it. And one of the requirements for this year's grant, the fiscal year 2013 grant, is that the board review the Illinois library laws on state grants and eligibility for grants. That I believe is in your packet under state grants and eligibility for grants. So you just need to let me know that you've read that you understand. The second part of the requirement is that the board has reviewed a list of supplemental taxes. Basically, the state asks boards to do this so that they understand the possible supplemental taxes that are available to them should they choose to put those matters before the public. It does not mean we have to do any of these, though we are actually using the special reserve fund, which we did, and that's not actually a tax, it's just a
Yeah, we
legal way
didn't
of.
levy.
Right, and that's not a tax that they included in this group, but it is not actually a tax. So mostly this is, again, just for your information, that these are things that we could choose to do if we wanted, moving forward, or at any time. And if everyone has read them over, and if no one has any questions, I can check that part off of the per capita grant. Also, for the per capita grant, the projects that I had put in for the use of this money, should we get it from the state? We have not yet received the FY 2012 monies yet, so who knows? But our request was for early literacy, every child ready to read workstations, both manual, non-digital, non-electronic workstations, playstations, those kinds of things, not the game, not the video games, and then also some digital early literacy stuff, computer software and computers for Media Lab, some additional furniture that is more power-enabled furniture, and self-check is the things that we have on the list for just for the board's information. So, does anyone have any questions about the things that they were supposed to review for the per capita grant?
No?
Then I will probably be getting the per capita grant sent to the state library by next week at the latest. So it's actually not due till October
We're ahead of
15th.
time.
So we are
All right.
ahead. So yes, that would be good to have that off my desk.
Great. Fantastic. And then 75th anniversary of the Morton Grove Public Library coming
Yes,
up.
I didn't realize this till a staff member mentioned it to me in some meetings, so I have to thank that person. I think it was Abby from Reference, but the 70th anniversary is in February, it's officially in February. We will absolutely try and do something. Right now, we're worried about Tech Fest and getting through that, and then we'll start working on the 75th anniversary. We have a couple of ideas, but I wanted to remind the board that was coming up, and certainly if there's anything that you think of or that you think would be a nice way to commemorate that, certainly let me know, and we can do it, try and incorporate some of those things. We don't have to keep it in February. We could do a 75th year-long anniversary if we want, but that might be a little bit too much work. But like I said, just to kind of give you a heads up, and if there's anything that you know of that you think might be good, being long-term residents of Morton Grove that I am not, to let me know.
I was called, I don't know how long, maybe 10 years ago or something like that, by, I don't remember if it was somebody from the library or the Historical Society that was working on some kind of an anniversary for the library, and like trying to find the original barrel that Grandpa had at the firehouse and things like that. So if we can maybe pull on some of those resources, I know a lot of that work has already been done.
Okay. I know one of the
Sometime in
things
the
that we
past,
had.
the Historical Society could tell you all kinds of.
Yep, I will definitely contact them, and I had actually talked to someone from the Historical Society a few weeks ago, and we had talked about partnering and doing some more things too, so this might be a good way to start that conversation and that partnership, so. And certainly, like I said, if anyone else thinks of anything, please, drop me an email or give me a call, and I'll put the ideas in a file and start working on those.
All right. Okay, that concludes it. Communications,
I have your response.
all right,
If,
if you want to hand it, yeah.
I will hand this out. This is President Alber's response to Mr. Monstill's letter. This was not completed in time for your packets, and I apologize for that, so you can do that.
Yes, of course.
So,
In a very nice way.
we encouraged him to visit the library, Mr. Alber.
And come to Tech Fest. And what is the date of Tech Fest?
October 20th, I did put that in the letter.
Okay.
So, because I noticed that we hadn't done that, so.
Well, if we say it's October 20 and it's recorded on camera, the people that watch this are going to come.
Absolutely, everyone
all
should
right.
come to Tech Fest. It will be wonderful.
Yeah, great. And we were also fortunate to have a patron write in and really praise Nancy Brothers for some of her activities specific to the family that had some issues, so.
It made me cry.
It was a great letter.
It was,
Yeah,
it was,
that
you
letter
know,
and- It's on in
please
Nancy's file,
thank,
so-
please
Yeah.
thank Nancy from the board. It was,
that was,
we're so proud of our
Great to
people
hear.
here. This is what makes us special.
Absolutely.
let's see, public comments on non-agenda items, any tonight? If none, do we have an executive session tonight?
Not tonight.
None? Then if I can have a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Any objections? None? We are adjourned. Thank you.